So what is the free-to-play experience like in Honkai Star Rail? I've personally gone through this beta so far without summoning any 5-star characters, just so I could see what the experience is like for someone with the worst luck in the world. Even though in general we do have a beginner banner that guarantees you a 5-star after 50 pulls, I thought let's go through with only the free-to-play 4-star units that we get to see if you are going to be okay playing the game with just the free units. So I want to give you guys my summary on how I feel about the game from a free-to-play aspect and the free characters that they give you, not only in capability of progressing through the game, but also enjoyment in the diversity of the character playstyles that you do get. So let's get into it. So first of all, let's take a look at the 7 4-star characters that you will get for free while playing the game without having to rely on any sort of RNG or summons at all. The first one is your Trailblazer. Very self-explanatory. You get this one at the very start of the game. And the cool thing about this character is you can upgrade their Eidolon, which is like the duplicate system. Just through playing the game, it gives you all the duplicates you need. So that is a very handy thing in itself. Now, this character at base is a physical destruction damage dealer. Being a sort of balanced type of damage dealer, you can do some single target damage and some AoE damage. Then as you progress through the game, you will unlock a fire tanking version of this character, and who knows, in the future maybe we'll get other elements as well. But at the moment, from what we can see from the beta, this character can act as either a physical destruction damage dealer or a fire tanking character. Next up is March 7th, who is one you get through the tutorial of the game. Now, she is of the Preservation, which is the tanking class. However, she's more of a control unit that also helps protect her allies. Her ultimate is an ability that's going to deal damage to all enemies with a chance of freezing them. And then her skill is going to put a shield on an ally to protect them, which is a fairly chunky shield in the early stages of the game. And then on top of that, her talent, which is her passive, means that any ally with a shield who is attacked, she will then revenge attack against the enemy, dealing damage based on her defense. Next up is Dan Hung. Now, apologies for mispronunciation of names if I do that. I am horrible at pronouncing names, so I do apologize. But Dan is a very solid single target damage dealer that you get very early on. His class is the Hunt, which is single target damage, and he is a wind element unit. Now, I really like this guy because he can deal really strong single target damage, but on top of that, he also brings with his skill a slow for the enemy, and then he can deal more damage to the enemies with his ultimate once they are slowed. And then on top of that, we also have, as you upgrade him further, he will eventually unlock the ability to be able to increase his own speed as well. So speed in turn-based games is always fantastic, and being able to slow the enemies and speed himself is always a fantastic thing. Next up is Asta, who is a fire element unit from the Harmony class, which is a buffing supportive type class. Now, she can deal random AoE damage with her skill, which is really nice because it's going to give her stacks of her passive, which is also able to buff her allies' attack. On top of that, her ultimate is going to be a speed buff for your entire team. So she's that really solid supportive character who's going to, enable your units to perform better. And then we have Serval. Now, she is a lightning AoE / dot damage dealer that we will get from pre-registrations if we reach 3.5 million. Her skill will hit an enemy and also 2 adjacent enemies, but will focus most of the damage that it deals on the primary enemy. Also, she can amplify her own damage against enemies that are affected with shock, which is the damage over time that she applies. And then her ultimate is just a raw AoE that is there to destroy waves of enemies when they do approach. And also it will extend the duration of her shock effect, meaning that she can deal more damage over time. Next up is Herta. Now, she is one that we get for free through the simulated universe, and you do actually get some duplicate copies of her to increase her Eidolon through the simulated universe as well. And what she specializes in, she's an ice damage dealer. She really does just specialize in raw AoE damage. She's going to be a really good farming unit for auto farming through just mindless waves of enemies. With one of her upgrades, she can start increasing her crit every time her passive is procced. Her skill is going to be AoE damage. Her ultimate is going to be AoE damage, and then her passive deals AoE damage when enemies fall below 50%. Next up is Natasha, who we're going to obtain through the campaign once we get into the Belobog zone, about halfway through the campaign there. Now, she is a physical damage dealer, which doesn't really matter too much except for breaking the odd enemy, because she's of the Abundance class, which is the healing class. So she is going to be the core free-to-play free-to-play healer. She has a basic attack, which, just like a basic attack, it's going to deal a bit of damage, but then her skill is going to heal a single ally and then provide a heal over time for them for 2 turns, allowing them to continue healing along the way. Then we have her ultimate, which is just going to be a fixed heal. It's going to deal a basic percentage of her max HP, so you really want to gear her for HP because it's healing based on her max HP plus a fixed amount. So once again, she's going to be the free-to-play healer. She's going to be pretty much a staple in most of your teams because a healer is normally going to be necessary, so you will get used to her unless you pull a 5-star healing unit. And the final free-to-play 4-star unit that we will get in the game is, I'm not even going to try and say her name. I've listened to it on a how to pronounce website and I still can't pronounce it, so I'll leave her on the screen. You guys can read the name and hopefully you're better than me at pronouncing names. But for her, we're going to get her from the Hall of Memories very early on. I think it's for clearing like 3 floors of the Hall of Memories, which is quite easy once you finally get to the stage where you unlock it. So she'll be the last one that most people obtain in the game of these free-to-play units. Now, she is a quantum damage dealer and she specializes in that AoE damage. She's got a very interesting kit. Her basic attack, once it gets enhanced, will also deal damage to adjacent enemies. Her ultimate is going to deal damage to all enemies as well. And then she has this unique thing where she has some jade tiles that she flips and they become different pitches. And then once you get them all to land on the same picture, she can enhance her damage dealing capacities. And then when you look at her active skill that she uses, it will flip some and then, you know, help you line them up to increase that attack. But she's that RNG unit that once again does eventually specialize in dealing AoE damage. So that is all the free-to-play units that we will get in the game. Now, how is progression with those free-to-play units? Honestly, for me so far, I've had no issues in the game. You can create some really well synergized teams with them that allow you to complete every bit of content that you come across. I've had no troubles in campaign with progression. I've cleared up to the 4th floor of the simulated universe, which now I'm onto the stage where in the 5th floor, I'm able to start farming for 5-star gear, and I'm about 4 or 5 days in, which is fantastic. And honestly, the synergies that you can make in these are fantastic. So progression is really not an issue at all with these 4-star characters. And what I love about that, and I always, when I play a game, try and play with the free-to-play units just to see what the experience is like, if there's anything you absolutely need. So when we look at something like people wanting to reroll or using a select summon on something, if there's anything that is needed to progress. And in this game, I'm really happy to say that no, there is, at this stage, obviously the game will expand, but at this stage, from the content I'm seeing, there is no need for any specific 5-star unit in the game. The 5-star units are just there to enhance your experience and the units that you do have. So in my opinion, you can really go for whatever 5-star you want. If it's a waifu, something like that, just to really give yourself the enjoyment in the game. Now, I will be doing videos close to the launch of the game, talking about what I think are the best 5 stars, the most effective ones, what have the most uses in certain situations, and I'll go really deep on all that stuff for those that are interested more in min-maxing and stuff like that. But in general, because the 4-star free-to-play units that you do get in the game are so useful and honestly diverse in their playstyles, you can have a lot of good team compositions without relying on those 5 stars. Okay, so now I want to look at that diversity of gameplay when we look at, you know, how much fun can you have? Because it's one thing to be able to clear content, it's another thing to be able to enjoy it. Now, I'm not going to give you a guide right now on the best free-to-play teams and stuff like that. I will do all of that closer to the release date of the game. But at this stage, I just want to talk about the enjoyment you get. For me, I have personally loved it. There is one character that is pretty much going to be a staple in all of your teams, so you don't have much diversity in that sense, and that is just the healing, because Natasha is the only one that we have that heals. And you know, once you basically unlock Natasha, she becomes a real staple because healing is always going to be a thing. Now, your Trailblazer can use the ability that you use outside of battle, which is your technique, to enter battle and heal you up, but in a lot of situations it's just better to have a healer. There will be niche situations where you don't need it, but like I said, Natasha is the only one that's a staple. But in general, I'm not too stressed on healing gameplay. I just want a healer to keep me alive, and then I can have fun with the rest of my characters. But like I mentioned before, you've got Dan Hung, who is just a really solid single target damage dealer. Really fun to just nuke single enemies with him. Then another unit that I found really, really enjoyable personally was Serval, because of the way she does that dot damage, but also the AoE capabilities, plus concentrating certain damage on certain enemies to be able to break them faster and stuff like that. So she has a really enjoyable one. Plus she plays with a guitar as a weapon, which is really just enjoyable, and she's a wicked looking ultimate. Then you have something like a March 7th. This is a really supportive type gameplay. Like I said, she synergizes really well with something like Dan Hung. And you know, she has that RNG factor of the freeze on her ultimate. So it's all, I just always enjoy coming up to a March 7th ultimate and seeing how many enemies I can freeze. Just hold out until the boss spawns some adds, see if we can freeze the whole board, then we're in happy days. Then, like I said, with the Trailblazer, because we have not only the physical tree, but eventually we unlock a fire tanking tree, it just gives you another option to play with when previously you're probably normally going to be running March 7th for a bit of protection. You can actually start dropping March 7th if you don't need the ice damage and run your Trailblazer on the fire tanking tree to be able to shield your allies, because once you get into that tanking tree, every time the Trailblazer uses an ability or a skill or an attack, it will shield all of your allies. So then you get some of that team protection as well. Moving on past that, we can, if you want to play the buffing route, we obviously have Asta, who is just great at buffing your allies. The one problem that I had with Asta when playing her is she doesn't generate ultimate gauge fast enough, so her speed buff isn't as impactful as it would be if it was tied to something like her skill, but it's still really nice to have that buffing type of unit. Then if you like RNG type play, you can play something like the chick whose name I just cannot pronounce, because you know she's got that added thing where she's got those those jade tiles that she flips, and you know you can use her skill, flip them again, try and get the attack buffs, and then go ahead and use it. So you've got that RNG option, and then like I said, you've also got the just wipe the board option with Herta, who can just go ahead and wipe everything. So like I said, it's pretty enjoyable, pretty diverse, and then you can just, like I said, if you get to your 5-star selector, which we get a selector after we do 300 pulls on the regular banner, you can basically just choose whatever you like. Now, once again, I will do more topics on best characters, best free-to-play teams, all that stuff in the future. But at the moment, I just wanted to let you guys know what the free-to-play experience is going to be like in the worst case scenario that you don't even get a 5-star from the first 50 on the beginner banner, which is impossible to happen. But you know what I mean? Like worst case, you don't get any 5-star. The game is still completely available to complete, and also quite enjoyable in my opinion. So that is going to be it for this one, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Who's your favorite characters? What 5-star are you going to go for? Do you care about meta? Anything like that? But thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.